again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to a Matchday preview show from Talking Town. I'm, of course, your host, the Gov. Looking forward to building up to this weekend, this Saturday's trip to take on Brentford in the Premier League. Town still winless. Can they register their first win of the season this weekend? Well, we're going to discuss that and a whole lot more through the course of the show. And as always, we can't do it without you wonderful people at home. So thank you for watching, first and foremost, whether watching live with us right now or on catch-up. FTA, comment for that algorithm. But get your comments in, your thoughts, your opinions, and we'll try and use as many as we can on the show and sort of build the conversation all around that. So, whatever you're thinking, feeling, etc. And don't forget, we are partnered with Match Bingo. Play Match Bingo, win cash prizes. All Premier League games are on there. £2 a bingo card, bingos as well. Download the app wherever you normally download your applications. Over 18s only. Be gamble aware. Lots of you coming into our live chat. We'd love to see it. I'm joined this evening by the one, the only, the peaky one, Mark Tuxford. Mark, welcome back. How are you?
Hello, Gov. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I know you obviously you were elsewhere on Saturday. You couldn't make the game, etc. So we haven't got to go through all of that and what you thought, etc. I'll start with the first question, which is opposed to sort of the start of the show there. You know, Town winless. Do you feel, without giving you score prediction away, which we'll come to later on in the show, do you feel this is a place Town could perhaps register their first win?
It's a difficult one because Brentford historically are very good at home. And it's not an easy place to go, but then there's no easy games in this league. So you'd like to think that, you know, with the disappointment in the last two games, especially West Ham and then Everton at the weekend, then you'd like to think that McKenna will maybe even try something new, potentially. Who knows? But it is a case that we do need to get points on the board. You know, you'd probably even take a point at this stage. So, you know, purely because Brentford are so strong at home. So,
And obviously, we all were bemoaning VAR on Saturday with the penalty. Was it? Wasn't it? Was it a good enough bar to overturn it? And obviously, of course, the very next day, we're all sort of celebrating referees' decisions with the Wolves Man City situation. You know, we're still above that dotted line as things stand. If the season ended tomorrow, which of course it doesn't, but if it did, you know, Ipswich Town would remain inside the Premier League. Ben Lee, I fear for Ipswich. Really can't see where we'll win. That's what Ben says. Colin, new ground on Saturday, my 124th different ground. Wow, Colin. Wow. All competitive games, I may add. Lots of the clubs are now in non-league. So is that, if Colin visits you, you're going to get relegated? Is that that's what it linked to?
It does appear to be so, doesn't it? Yeah.
So if you see Colin Plum walking up to your ticket turnstile, turn him around quick, because he brings the prayer vibes. I'm joking. Love you, Colin. Talking about vibes, Leif Davis signed a new contract this week. Tux, what are your thoughts on Leif? When he first signed, I said this is a player that we're better than Aaron Cresswell, and got a lot of sort of raised eyebrows at the time. I'm standing by it now. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's you know, it's an important piece of business for us because he's probably actually still our best player, even though we've signed, you know, what you'd call Premier League quality players in the window just gone. So, you know, Davis was always punching, you know, in terms of, you know, well, I think we were punching in terms of having Leif Davis when he was in League One, and then it was always going to be a test for him in the Championship, I think, because he's played there before. He has obviously played in the Premier League, but it's one of them where to be consistent for a club such as Ipswich, it was going to be a test for him. And, you know, obviously broke the assist record in that time as well. So obviously he did very well. But I think what is, I guess, a question mark about him at the moment still is his defensive ability sometimes. Obviously great going forward, but there is always a bit of a question mark with his defense, especially if he comes up, you know, against a winger that's got a lot of pace and tricks about him. So, but, you know, ultimately he has signed a new contract, and it is, you know, a good piece of business tying down, you know, quite an important player to us. You know, touch wood, but, you know, if anything happens to him, you know, we are really stuck. So, yeah.
Obviously, you know, he's had a great season actually so far. You know, ahead of the challenge in chance creation over players like Trent, which is always a stat you want to be, you know, involved in, and he's doing really well at the moment in that. And yeah, I think you're right. You know, there's always been a sort of question mark about him sort of defensively going forward. We all know about the wonder of the left foot, and the stats always back up the eye test, as it were. But defensively, always those question marks, and he's not had an easy time in terms of who he's had to face. Straight out of the door, there was no welcome to the Premier League. Here's insert whichever wingers you feel aren't very good, but he's had Mo Salah, etc.
Well, let me ask you this, Gov. I mean, what is how far do you think he's away from the England side? When you think about the the recent games that we've had, obviously Carsley was in charge, didn't pick a left back in the squad, a recognised left back.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously having Rico Lewis and other players playing there as well. So, how far do you think he's away from a potential call up?
It's a great question. I keep hearing about left back situation in England. There's a mini crisis or an emergency. Where's the left back? Who's it going to be? I know there was sort of wild talks about playing Cole Palmer there. I'm sure I read in some quarters, which just seems bizarre. You take one of your better Premier League players and move him at left back. Seems a very England thing to do, like Paul Scholes playing left midfield. In all honesty, and obviously we don't know now under Tuchel, we don't know what the policy will be in terms of how he picks his squad, what he looks at, what he needs. But if I'm honest with you, Tuck, sat here as a football fan, it feels like he needs a move to a club that isn't Ipswich Town. And I don't mean that because Ipswich Town are this, that, or the other. I'm a Town fan. I love my football club. But there's always seems to be this, that you're not playing for Europe. You're not playing in this game or for this club. Or it's what it always sort of feels like as a football fan, because he's good enough. He was arguably good enough in the summer to be a part of the European Championship squad, for my money. But he wasn't. It's just what it feels like. How about you? I'll reverse that question back to you.
I think with your last point there about, because you think that he needs to go and play, for a bigger club, maybe a mid-table side, to even think about getting a chance in the England side. I think, moving forward, if he wants to be in England regular, yes, but there's no reason why he can't be picked.
Agreed.
At least like 2 or 3 times before the end of the season, while he's still an Ipswich player, because he has done well. But I don't know whether, and I'm sure they do. Carsley and the rest of the team, or even Tuchel now, they've got to look at it and think probably the same sort of question marks that I've got. Like, is he really that good defensively? And also, he's going to be judged on how the club performs in the Premier League, I suppose, because at the end of the day, he's part of that defensive unit. And if we're shipping goals, then it doesn't really bode well for him, does it? But then at the same time, I can't really say there is too many other left back options at the moment. So
there really isn't. And I know, obviously, taking a championship player to a major tournament is not the done thing. But he broke assists, the record for assists. He was promoted. You've seen squad places go to younger players that are 16, 17 coming through that are going to be good one day. You saw Anthony Gordon rarely get minutes for England in the major tournament. Would it really have been that much of this guy's potentially the future of what we want to do, how we want to play? Let's get him acclimatized, get him used to tournament life. Like, just forward thinking, what I would call forward thinking, but it doesn't happen, or it doesn't seem to happen within.
Well, the way that England are playing at the moment, this obviously might change under Tuchel, obviously, but the way that England are playing at the moment actually suits how Davis plays when you think about it, because he is a forward-thinking left back that will come into the pitch if needed, obviously run the channels. So, if you take club form out of it, if you take, the Ipswich form out of it, then actually he isn't a bad option to have at left back for England at the moment, really.
No, he will play for England one day. It's just a matter of when that selection comes, and once it comes, I think there'll then be a sort of, for my money, an ever-present part of the squad. Dow says the win this Saturday will be a big boost to the morale of fans and the players, of course. Lots of conversation heading in. We had it on Sunday's show. You see it all over social media. Lots of conversation talks about the approach. Does Ipswich? Do you see McKenna perhaps changing the approach? We'll go through who he feels going to start in a moment. But would you change the approach? Would you look to tweak the formation? How would you come into this game, on the backdrop of all that chatter from fans in terms of, do we change it? Don't we change it, etc.?
I'm sort of in 2 minds about it, because if you change something now in terms of a formation, the players have then got to adapt to that.
Sure.
So when you think about the amount of players that we've signed in the summer, obviously he's still trying to bed some of these players in and play to the way Kieran McKenna wants to play. So then if he starts changing the formation and the way we play, then surely more of the players have got to learn that as well then. So then there's lots of learning still to do. So there's no gelling there. It's ripping it up.
It's a new message, isn't it? It's a new message. It's a new instruction. Yeah.
So I'm 50-50 with it, but I do sort of feel like that, you know, by the time the next international break comes along, if we still haven't got a win or we're still shipping goals, then it might be a case that we have to go for a 3-5 at the back, whatever you want to call it, and be a bit more
pragmatic,
consolidate, and just kind of look at it from a point of view that we need to not ship goals. That's the aim here, especially away from home. But I think that'll be the time that he might look at it. I just feel like at the moment he's wanting to, you know, get these players gelled, you know, and still play the way he knows that he plays football, the way he feels can bring success. Because it has to this point, albeit it's been in lower leagues, in League One and the Championship. But then you think about it and you think, you know, we was in the game against Villa, we was in the game against Fulham, we was in the game against other sides that we've played this year. No one was talking about the formation or the, you know, changing it then, but it's because we can't finish our chances. That's if you could take your chances, we would have got a win by now. You know, that one against Everton, you know, Jack Clark blazing it all over the bar. You know, it's things like that. It's fine margins that will stop you progressing.
Yeah.
And I heard on TalkSport yesterday that, and I think it was Kieran Dyer, funny enough, that mentioned that, you know, if you have a bad start to the season, that can really affect the way you move throughout the season. And it's really because of the confidence.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, because you start to, you know, not believe yourself. You start to think, you know, are we ready for, you know, all these different things? Those doubts creep into your mind, which is only natural as human beings, I think. But it's a funny one. You make some good points there. You know, Sean says defense. If it's in doubt, knock it out to get rid of the ball. And this is where I'm kind of sitting. I am leaning maybe towards a formation change potentially, but I think first and foremost, before we even discuss, you know, approaches, patterns, formations, it's basic stuff we've got to start getting right. You know, like the goal against Everton, you know, O'Shea heads it back into the box. That header's got to go away for a corner. That would be my first sort of, if I was the coach. Now, I've only been a Sunday morning coach, but if I was the coach, that's my first coaching point. Dara, that's got to go into the stands. It can't go back into my box because it can't, you know, they can't score in the stands. And then Wes obviously gets caught on it. Again, we can't get caught in our own box. This is not the opposition's box where you get caught. You're not going to get hurt perhaps as badly. This has got to go away either way. And then, of course, you mentioned Villa there, Greaves. You know, perhaps 9 times out of 10, that's a pass he makes to Leif Davis from one side of the pitch to the other. Looks beautiful, comes off, and we spring a counter and we look great. But it's that once when it doesn't come off.
These mistakes are more highlighted because in this league, because obviously you know, the teams then take the chance and take it. You know,
and your chance creation isn't high like in the Championship. So you've got to basically what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded sense is stop giving yourself an uphill battle. It's already uphill. Don't make it even more. You know, don't whack the gears up or whatever it is on the old Peloton. Don't do that. Stop doing that because it ain't helping. You know, and
but it's the other side of the pitch. You know, obviously Delap has been good since he joined us, but you know, even he's been guilty of missing a couple of chances here and there. So, you know, it has to work both ways. You know, you have to be solid at the back, like we have been, you know, in previous leagues, but we've also had the ability to go and score more goals than the other side, which obviously isn't going to happen as much this year. But we have to start scoring. We have to take, you know, teams to the sword and take our chances, you know, rather than focusing on the back where, you know, Wes Burns is making a mistake, Joe Greaves is making a mistake. The point being is we have to put the ball in the back of the net to win a game.
Yeah, well, so, and the way we're defending at the moment, you've got to put the ball in the back of their net 3 times, 4 times. And that's Championship levels, which was great in the Championship because we could do it. But at this level, you're not going to get perhaps that many opportunities to stick 3 or 4 away. All right, let's start with the goalkeeper. Does Munich retain his place for you? He does for me.
At the moment, yes.
Okay. I don't think he did too much of if anything wrong on Saturday. In all honesty,
but I mean, again, it's you know, he saved us. I mean, I remember the Brighton game where he really kept us in the game.
Yeah.
But then you know, you kind of watch some of the goals that we have conceded this year.
Yeah.
He's been at fault for quite a few of them. And again, that's highlighted because of the way that we're playing, you know, the amount of time that he's spending on the ball when he could just clear it, you know, and it's frustrating to watch sometimes when, you know, I love the fact that you play great football, but sometimes just hump it long. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that when you're in a pressurized situation. You know, just get rid of the ball rather than, you know, trying to find a neat pass.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the amount of times that I've seen Muric put someone like Morsey under pressure just outside the area because he wants to play the right way. Sometimes you just have to think about the fact that that's not the right time to play the football like that.
Colin says without Muric, it would have been at least 4-0. Dow Muric was decent on Saturday by the kick off the pitch, a bit more into to release the ball. And while you were talking now, I was just sort of looking to see some of McKenna's talking points from his press conference, and along the lines of, you know, first win will be a boost, but obviously about trust the process and good things will come, etc. So that sort of highlights or maybe indicates not going to change too much at this point, as you were sort of alluding to there, you know, in those comments about getting to the international break at the very least before you look to make that change. All right, so Muric retains his place in goal. Who's the back four? What's the back four? Because is it the same back four as it was last week? Because Axel's out, Jacobs Greaves is out. What are you doing? Is it the same as last week?
Obviously, Davis is nailed on. I mean, probably due to injuries, Wolfenden is probably a nailed on one as well at the moment. I mean, I can't really comment. I didn't see the game, so I don't know what Burgess' performance was like.
He did well. He did well for me.
Yeah.
He did well for me. I said in my post match bit for TikTok, I thought, you know, for his first appearance inside the Premier League compared to the Wimbledon game, certainly, I thought he did really well. You know, and at this point, maybe a little bit more of what we need. Kick it, edit, clear it. You know, that doesn't mean he can't play nice passes, because he can. But kick it, edit, clear it. Bit of the old-fashioned throwback. When in doubt, you know, whack it out.
Yeah, I think, but for me, Burgess is the natural replacement at the moment for Greaves. And obviously has a relationship with Wolfenden, so that makes sense. But then it's the right side that I think is a bit weak at the moment, especially with that Axel.
Do you start Harry Clark?
Well, this is the thing, I'm thinking about it because, you know, for me, I haven't been overly impressed with O'Shea. I don't think he's been brilliant, if I'm honest. But then obviously right back isn't his position, so let's give him some slack. But, you know, Harry Clark is a right back. Again, question marks might be about his defending. His ability to go forward is great, but defensively, question marks. So, but is he, you know, he's more of a natural right back than what O'Shea is. So you'd probably think you'd give him a chance, yeah.
So if you're going to go Clark at right back, you're going to go O'Shea and Burgess centre halves? Or are you dropping O'Shea altogether?
Yeah, I'd drop O'Shea. I'd go Wolf. I think you have to have a bit of in there somewhere now. We have to have a couple of relationships that we know are solid and that have been built upon before. And it just makes more sense to me to have a Wolfenden and a Burgess.
Okay, so they've got that understanding.
Yeah,
is what you're talking about. Okay, I would go. Well, you know, I'd go. As much as I thought Burgess played well, I still absolutely love Wolfie. So if I was going to play two, it'd probably be Wolfie and O'Shea, which isn't a balance, perhaps. So perhaps you would play O'Shea and Burgess. Yeah, I'll go O'Shea and Burgess. Yeah, all right. So I'll go Clark, O'Shea, Burgess, and Leif into midfield. We'll stick with the 4-2-3-1. You know, variation of that we play. Lots of conversation this week about Kelvin Phillips. You know, Kelvin Phillips, a player that only a couple of weeks ago, it seems, was getting a lot of love from Town fans. But now it seemingly isn't getting a lot of love from Town fans. What are your thoughts on it? Norman says earlier in the show, lots of rumors about Phillips will go back to City in January as he's in poor physical condition. I disagree with that. From what I've seen of him, you know, on the pitch, I don't think he's in poor physical condition at all. I certainly much better condition than
the thing is, I think if he was in poor physical condition, he wouldn't be playing, would he? Like, McKenna's not stupid. He wouldn't be playing and starting him. Like, if that was the case, he'd be bringing him off the bench, I think. But
because he started in every game that he's been fit.
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying he started, which tells me the manager's got confidence in
Yeah.
this player.
Yeah. Well, he's the on paper and from the early games he had, he is a good foil for someone like Morsey, who wants to try and get a bit more forward, but is also willing to come back and obviously defend.
Hmm.
So it makes sense to me to have Phillips still in there, but then you've got it all comes back to confidence, and obviously we know Phillips has suffered with his confidence, certainly during his time at West Ham. Not having much game time at City. Obviously now not being really in the England team at all now. So but it's down to him. He's like a Dele Alli in many ways, where he's got the world at his feet, but just can't fulfil his potential at the moment for whatever reason.
Lost his way a little bit, but as Hamish says here, Phillips doesn't look sharp as he should be. But this is the bit I thought when Hamish was spot on, probably a bit rusty, but still have not played much for 2 years. He was decent against Fulham and Villa.
He was. Yeah,
not so good last 2 games, and that's football, right? That's how quickly it can turn around. A couple of weeks ago we were saying, he's really growing, developing. That partnership will blossom, and then you have 2 bad results, and suddenly it's like, well, we need to drop him, I would start both Phillips and Morsey. Very much in the same thinking you were a second ago about relationships. These two have played together now for the bulk of our season so far. I know it's still very early doors, but they've played together when they've both been fit, particularly Phillips. I start them again. I've seen nothing from Phillips to suggest I would be dropping him at this stage. When you could, in all honesty, probably, if you could be really honest, drop more than Phillips, in terms of players who haven't done this moment then well or done that moment well. If you did that and that fine tooth comb, you'd be like sort of Paul Hurst levels of shuffling your deck every week.
In my mind, definitely there's players that could be dropped that even haven't been spoke about dropped before we even consider Phillips, in my opinion, at this time. So
if you're going to go through their fine tooth comb and really sort of magnify the mistake or two, so you're going to go with Phillips and Morsey as well.
Yeah, well, just the point that Hamish made about he was decent against Fulham and Villa.
Yeah,
he was, but so is the team. They were all pretty decent against Fulham and Villa. So the fact that we couldn't even pick a man of the match for the Everton game shows that no one really had a good game.
No.
So
and I think a lot of what Paul P says here, getting overrun in midfield, is true. We were getting overrun in midfield. But then I think that starts to lend itself into the conversation about approaches and changes, and is that a formation thing? Is that perhaps we need to be a bit more pragmatic and not allow as much space in between our lines? We defend the width of our box. So a lot of the staples and ingredients of a Sean Dyche side, which isn't, hasn't been us under Kieran McKenna since he arrived full stop. Is it the formation that's creating all those big gaps? Well, that's one of those things we'll have to wait to sort of see. So who's the 3 behind, which I imagine is going to be Delap. But before you do, we are partnered with SolarWise Roofing and Building. Be wise, be SolarWise this autumn and winter. Get your roof checked for free from Shane at SolarWise. Call 01206 628 544. That's 01206 628 544. Details in our description. And while you're there, like, comment, subscribe, all of that, please. Hit the subscribe button, like, and share to all your friends and family. Right. I imagine before we go to the 3, it is Delap up front for you, because it is for me.
Yes.
Yeah, easy that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, is there anything you can hang your hat on at the moment about all that we've got within our squad? That we've got Delap. He's a goal scorer so far. Touch wood, that continues. He starts if he's fit.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. I think you've got George Hurst waiting in the wings, so to speak. But I think Delap is already proven to be a very good signing at this level. I think there's certainly question marks. I was one of them, thinking that it's quite a lot of money we spent from a guy who was fairly decent at Hull last year, but not a Premier League player, but has proven to be a decent signing. So he's always the one that is kind of your first name on the team sheet at the moment, I suppose, along with probably Leif Davis. So
and obviously lots of rumours this week in terms of clubs looking at him, potential to January, which I don't think we'll sell in January, but certainly next window. Tottenham being mentioned, 40 million price tags being mentioned. 40 million right now. If he keeps having the season he's started, Tux, it'll be a lot more than 40. Because goal scorers,
40 at this stage is an absolute bargain. The fact that if we sell him in January, that's basically sort of kissing goodbye to any, thought of staying in this league.
We won't sell him in January. Full stop.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think Ashton's even entertaining that, quite frankly, at the moment. So
no.
Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, I don't think he'll be here next year. Whatever league we're in, because he probably will go get a kind of a bigger move, so to speak. But for the moment, he's got to concentrate on what he's doing for us, and start scoring goals again. And put a bit of a run together, I suppose. But he's only as good as the players behind him that are trying to give him service. So
yeah, and a lot of his goals he's made himself, which has been a huge testament to him. You do also think, okay, once we start clicking and create chances, what sort of players are going to be? And obviously he's got age on his side, he's got his projection of development on his side, and obviously if he has a great season like it's looking like so far, touch wood, it's going to be for him.
Yeah, he's a complete striker, really, when you think about it. I mean, he's got a lot of strength. He's good in the air.
He's such a physical striker. He can play, but he's so physical. And I wonder, with a lot of centre halves who want to be ball players and and fancy themselves on the ball.
Yeah,
physicality. It's going less and less out of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas
it is. Yeah.
He's all physical, and it's great to watch.
But he's the type of player that is ideal for playing up top on his own. I don't know how good he would be if he went to a team and they played. I know no one really plays 4-4-2 anymore, but as in, a kind of second striker that's a lot closer to him. I don't know how he get on there, but certainly the way we play, the way modern football is at the moment, he's obviously a very good player for it. I think the only thing he could probably work on for me is probably his touch a little bit. I think his touch lacks it slightly, but other than that, he's a very good player.
Yeah, I'm surprised a lot of people, yourself included, obviously, in terms of what he's brought to the party so far inside eight Premier League games. Hamish said, if we stay up, we'll keep Delap 5-year contract. The only danger will be the Man City's buyback clause, but they won't need him. How about a loan? How about a swap deal? Delap for Haaland for Delap.
Could happen.
Fancy that. Paul P. Hudson doesn't seem to be physically trying to play the 10 role currently in the league. Lots of conversation, obviously, about the 3 behind Delap. So let's get into that now. Balance being a big word. Who plays right midfield? Who plays the 10? Let's start on the left then. Let's go left to right. Who starts left midfield for you? Jack Clark, Nathan Broadhead, Sammy Schmodix. Who's your left-sided player this Saturday, Tux?
I think it will be Clark.
Okay.
But it would be good to see Broadhead again. I sort of feel like he'll get brought off the bench if he's in the squad. And I maybe I'm just sort of quietly hopeful, but I do feel like Broadhead's got something to offer in this league somewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't know when it's going to come, but I just feel like there's a time for him. I think it's a bit too soon this weekend, mind you, but I think Clark will start, and then you'll probably see Broadhead come on, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm big fan of Nathan Broadhead. I think there'll be a big part for him this year. But I agree with you. Jack Clark starts. I think Jack Clark starts most of the games for me this season, with Broady being that option off the bench, and until Broady obviously nudges him out of the way and makes that shirt his own, and then it's Clark off the bench, trying to do vice versa, which is what you want in a squad. You want that competitiveness between the 2 players or 3 players vying for the shirt, each pushing each other to be better. But I'll go with you. Yeah, Clark. Okay, who is your right-sided player then this week?
It's out of 2, and it is obviously Burns and Amari. I don't think
Benny.
No, I think
no? Okay.
I like Benny. I think he's all right. He's got good pace, but I don't think he's as good as those 2 at the moment. But then saying that, I don't think either of them have pulled up any trees so far this season. I thought Burns looked okay start of the season against Liverpool, but then he got injured. I just think that Amari has really been off it this season, and I know that some of that is who we've played and what's happened in certain games and stuff like that, but he keeps the ball far too long. When he gets to to create a chance to get to the byline, when he crosses it, he just pisses about with it, and it's so frustrating to watch. But then sometimes he does a bit of magic and then he bangs one in from 30 yards. So, it's difficult to say, but I just don't think it works for him in the 10 so far this year. And I'd maybe try him on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that ain't working, then you've got to look at Burns and Ogbenny, really. So I think probably Amari just.
Yeah. Ancient says Clark doesn't track back quick enough for Ancient Tractor Boy. Harp says Clark needs a goal. Just maybe this Saturday is his moment. Harp says Burns should not start. Dow says I hope Murray starts on the right. I would like to see a Murray on the right. I think when you mention those moments of magic and he bends one in the top corner, you get those pockets of space more out wide in which you can dip a shoulder, have a moment of magic, and then unleash. We saw it so many times last year. In the championship where he got that ball corner of the 18-yard box, fullback doesn't know which way he's going to go, so he feints one way, dips the shoulder, bends it, and it's a wonderful goal. You saw it so many times towards the back end of that championship campaign. Don't get that space in the middle. It's more of a physical game in the middle. It's more how tight your ball control.
Yeah, and I think when you look back over the championship season last year and who played in that 10 role, it was actually Chaplin.
Yeah.
When you think about it, for a large majority of the season, obviously then Amari started playing probably back end of last season he was in the 10, and obviously he was doing well there, and he was keeping Chaplin outside. So I think we're kind of a little bit sort of, I don't know, rose tinted glasses with it when we started this year, because we thought he was good last year in the 10, but actually a lot of his good play came from the right side. So yeah, and then going into the 10, it's got to be Sammy. I mean, I don't know how that boy hasn't started. I'm sorry, but I know we're trying to get Amari playing to his best abilities, and McKenna loves him in the 10 probably for whatever reason, but Sammy's got to be playing. He started like a house on fire, obviously at City, got his goal, and just looked up for it. For me, you need that little bit of bite in there. You need somebody who's going to really like a bit of strength, and I think that's what Amari lacks at the moment. Is just that little bit of kind of strength, but also bully his defenders a little bit. And Sammy's like that. He loves a kind of a bit of a challenge. And I think that the fact that he scored, a shitload of goals last year, for Blackburn. Why is he not starting? Why? This is the Championship's best player, basically. And he's not starting for us. I just can't get my head around it. The fact that he scored so many goals and now you're not playing him, that would dent a player's confidence for me. He's getting like little cameos here and there, and it's just not. I just don't understand it, if I'm honest.
No, it's and obviously they're two 10s at different points of their career, because of their ages. If you ask me the question, will Amari be a much better 10 than Sammy Smolix? The answer is, for me, yes. Amari will be a fantastic 10 in the future. The problem is we ain't living in the future. We're living right here and right now. And right now, Sammy's arguably the better 10. Or could be the better 10, or haven't yet seen in the Premier League in his natural position, or the position that got him that move from Blackburn. All those different sorts of things that you can't quite answer definitively. The same way people say about Conor Chaplin, he's not good enough at the Premier League level. I always reply, well, I haven't really seen enough of him at Premier League level to definitively say, yes, you're right, or well, actually, no, I think you're wrong. You got to see players before you can make the sort of the judgment. And so far, I would like Amari on the right, but I think it'll be. I'd go Benny on the right on Saturday, because I don't think he'll move Amari from the 10. So I think it'll be Amari in the 10 and Benny on the right.
He's got to. He has to move him from the 10 because it's not working. It's not working at all at the moment. And the fact that you've got someone like Sammy Smolix on the bench who is playing cameo roles. This is a guy that scored loads of goals last year. And the fact is, you want somebody who has been scoring goals recently that's confident in front of goal. And that brings something a bit different. Amari's great with the ball at his feet. He can take players on and all that sort of stuff. And Sammy can do it to a certain extent. But what you need in that 10, especially in this league, is just a bit of bully in there. Bully a defender.
Yeah. Okay. If you are, So I think it'll be Amari, and then I'd go a bit on the right. But if you ask me what I'd like, it'd be Amari on the right and Smolix in the 10. Same as you. Same 3 as you. That would be just more balance, more streetwise in certain areas of like your 10, for example. At this point of his career, I'm intrigued by it. I'm just intrigued by it, Tuck. So just give me those 3 in those positions,
Well, I think the previous games that we played, so the last 2 games really, so West Ham and Everton, that front three has sort of been the same. You've had Clark, you've had Hutchinson, you've had a mix of sort of Burns and and other players that have come on in the second half, but it hasn't worked. We haven't scored in those 2 goals. Well, other than Delap's goal, but we haven't really put teams to the sword with it. So there has to be some change in that front three. Arguably that could be the same as the in defensive positions as well. But goals win you games, and Simodics needs to be in that team for me, and then Amari has to be on the right. So, but we can't. If I'm McKenna, you can't keep picking your favourites. You can't keep picking Amari because he loves him and stuff like that. He has to have an effect on the team in the right position at the moment for what we play as a team in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. We've got some comments coming in. We'll do Survivor in just a second. Chaplin Burns Hurst says Gem. Amari hasn't got the passing range yet, says Ryan, to play the 10. Daz, I think you're right. I think he will persist now. That's the thing. I think he will continue. Maybe at least to the international break. I think he'll continue to persist with Amari in that 10. Just some, I might be wrong, and he could Saturday, put us, pull one out of the bag and move Amari here and do this and do that. I just, some of the comments I think I read last week in regards to the 10. And I just think he views Amari as the 10 right now and in the future, and that's where he wants him. I might be wrong. I could be. I've got some comments coming in. I'll come to get to in just a second. This week's Survivor, you are on the screen. You may have to pause it to make it slightly larger. I don't know. But there's our Survivor entries. There's the teams you selected. So pause the show, refresh yourself, and then drop a comment in the comments. Not in the live chat. Not in the live chat. I'll leave it on the screen while I say this. Not in the live chat. In the comments afterwards on who you want your Survivor this week to be. But you can't pick a team you've already gone with. Tux, I'll ask you the question. Out of this week's Premier League games, give me one team you'd be confident in saying, do you know what? They're going to pick a result up there. Just a reminder of the rules. For example, Aston Villa Bournemouth, if it's 1-1, Aston Villa would class as a loss for you, but Bournemouth would class as a win. Away draws are great. Home draws are not. Other than that, it's win or lose. So out of those fixtures there, who would you sort of be saying, you know what? I'd be going them.
I think probably either Brighton or City, and I think it would probably maybe City.
Yeah. Definitely City at Southampton. Yeah, I agree with that. I fancy Everton, at home, having beaten us, having picked up a result, having been they were they drew with Newcastle. They picked up some good results coming into our game, beat us fairly comfortably. You have to probably say. And Fulham, they're an okay side, but they're not Man City. So I'd be tempted to say Everton. Tempted on that one. 5:30 kickoff in that.
Yeah, so. I think there's I think Everton have turned a corner. I think now under Dyche, it sort of seems that way anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's down to, because obviously start of the season, as soon as they went, was it 3-2 on the bounce, wasn't it? They lost. So from losing from winning positions as well. So I think that's why a lot of fans thought that we might get a result against them last weekend. But it does seem to be that they're sort of coming together a little bit now.
They've gone back to their principles, the Dyche principles. Defend the width of your box, leave no space in between your lines, and those sorts of things. But these are your entries. Once again, you can't pick the same team twice. So for those of you that have got City, you've already used City. You can't use them this week at home to Southampton. That's unlucky. But Gary Knightson could, for example, he had at West Ham, Villa, United, Ipswich, and Bournemouth. So, and that Ipswich one he had was an away draw. I think it was Brighton he had us. I think, or Southampton. I mean, probably Southampton. It's an away draw. So, Gary's playing the game. He's playing it well. All right, before we get to our score prediction, we'll have a few questions. We have got Russ Robinson from Great Yarmouth. He says, "Evening, guys. Russ here in Yarmouth. Who would you let go next season from our current play? Give me one member of the squad you'd be happy to let go as things stand next summer," just to answer Russ's question.
I don't know actually. Just trying to think of the sort of fringe players that we've got. Yeah, I don't know actually. I mean, I, just to give a name, I'd probably sort of say O'Shea. I don't think he's been brilliant, if I'm honest.
When you don't like someone, you don't like them. Mike D. McKenna sees something about 4-2-3-1. Should we adapt depending on opposition? Yes or no answers to that one, Tuck, because we covered it earlier in the show, I know, but I thought I'd ask you anyway.
I think he should be adaptable, yes. Whether he will be, I don't know. But then all good coaches should be adaptable. And they should be adaptable to the playing staff that they've got and the results that team have got at that time. So that's why I think after the international break, there could be changes. And that I think that really depends on obviously results that we get between now and then, but also, you know, the amount of goals that we ship, because we have seen McKenna, you know, experiment with sort of 3 at the back, 5 at the back before, albeit in a different league, but he should be adaptable. Yes. You know, as I say, every good coach should be.
Yeah. Legacy Bates says Morsey, only because of age in relation to the question by Russ. Harp says Burns. Norman says Massimo, get someone quicker. Magic Mark Burns makes too many mistakes. So that's a few answers there in regards to that question. If you're watching on catch up, let us know in the comments who you would perhaps suggest the answer to Russ's question there. Paul P, I'm going to be controversial here. That's all right. That's always welcome on Talking Town. Don't know if you heard about us. I think McKenna will have to be more open to personal and tactical changes if we're going to survive this season. All right, score prediction time. Before we get to the score prediction, we are part with Stowmarket Osteopaths. Give Freddie a call. 01449613633. Score prediction with Stowmarket Osteopaths. Don't live life in pain. Trust me, someone with a bad back right here, Tucks. Don't live life in pain. Give Freddie a call and tell him I sent you. I don't actually know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing, but just tell him I sent you. Call 01449613633. Score prediction wise, Tux, over to you. What are you thinking?
Colin messaged me earlier and said 2-2. Might agree with him there.
2-2.
I think it will be a game of goals. Because I don't think Brentford are great at the back, but they do score goals.
Yeah, I'd take a point. I'd take a point right now. If you said to me, look, here's a point, and you don't get on the bus, I wouldn't even get on the coach.
I think it might be a Desmond to go, if I'm honest.
I'll take
Desmond 2-2
every day of the week right now. 0-0, 1-1, 5-5, 20-20, 2-2, whatever. If it's a point, yeah, I'll take that. Because I don't want to say no. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking score prediction wise, because that's just bad vibes.
Yeah. No, you should. No. You should, because you've asked me. You've asked me. So let me ask you, Guff. What is your score prediction?
Well, no, because I think we're going to lose. So that's just bringing bad vibes into the universe.
What is it? What is it?
Brentford 2, Ipswich Town 1. That's my score prediction.
Negative.
That's what I mean. I don't want to bring those. I don't want to bring those bad vibes into the world. You made me bring the bad vibes into the world. It wasn't my fault. And what?
Anti-football.
Well, as Town fans, we would recognise anti-football when we see anti-football. We saw it long enough. Let's be honest. Norman says Brentford 3. See, also Norman's just brought bad vibes. He's being honest, which I respect. But he says 3-0. Hamish says Brentford 3, Town 3. Ross says 2-1 Town. Grace says 3-3. Mike D says Gov McCarthy. Absolutely spot on. Gov McCarthy. Streaky says 2-0. Dow says 1-0 Ipswich. I'm loving the Town positivity. It's what we need. Bring it in.
Do you know what? I could see us getting just a sneak of 1-0.
Yeah, no. 1-0 suggests a clean sheet, and I can't see us having many of any of those. We've had one already, to be fair, Brighton away. That's our first, and that could well possibly be our last.
I'm going to agree with Dale. I've changed my mind. I'm going to go sneak at 1-0.
Dale Gladwin has just convinced Tux to change his mind. Terry said 4-5-1, pack the midfield, 2-2. All right, love it. Get your score predictions in. Lynn says 2-2. Thanks for your comment. Thanks for watching, Lynn. Trevor says Hart is saying any sort of win because you need it for confidence. Okay, that's what the heart's saying, Trevor. But then you've not put what the head's saying. You've left that out. So I'm not sure I want to know actually, Trevor. If you've left it out, perhaps I don't. Put it after I click the end broadcast button. David says 1-1. Sammy scored in the number 10 role.
Yeah,
Sean says Town apart the bus, and Sean knows his stuff, right? Because he's a big winner on Match Bingo. Town apart the bus and grab a breakaway winner. 1-0 Town. 90th minute.
There you go.
90th minute.
There you go.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. I would happily sit here on our match reaction show at the full-time whistle. Join us then, and really say, you know what, Tux was right. Thursday night.
No, we'll give it to Dale. We'll give it to Dale because he
Dale,
did say it.
Tux, all of you that said Town were going to win 1-0. I think you're spot on the money, but we'll see. But we're done. The show has ended. We have reached the end, my friends. A match preview show in the books. This has been the peaky one, Mark Tuxwood. Nice to see him back on the screen, hearing his thoughts, always good. And I know you guys and girls at home absolutely love him, and I absolutely love you for watching. So many thanks. Enjoy the rest of your week, and catch me and many others on the Match Reaction Show Saturday evening. But until then, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I thought went crazy from just the thought of you.